Assault rifles, miniguns, machine guns, laser beams, freeze rays. Warframe has pretty much everything, including grenade launchers. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this mastery rank 12 primary weapon, the Secura Penta. I'm gonna be covering a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we also have the classic endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides follow a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Secura Penta. Let's begin by having a look at how the weapon behaves without any mods equipped, and for that I'm gonna be taking a couple of free shots. The Secura Penta launches grenades, even though they don't really look like grenades. These are more like sticks of dynamite, and guess what? Yes, they do deal damage to you. Currently the weapon is unmodded, so it's not gonna deal that much damage to me. At a single point you cannot have more than 5 of these little grenades or sticks of dynamites out. I'm clicking my button right now and I still cannot fire additional ones, and you will have to detonate them. Of course you can set up beautiful traps with something like this. If you leave them on the ground with the weapon as it is now, they will stay there basically indefinite, but of course you're not able to use the weapon. The radius of the explosion from these little sticks of dynamite is 5.5 meters, or at least that's what the wiki says. In one place it says it's 5.5 and another place it says that it's only 5. So there you go, 5 to 5.5 meters. The Secura Penta is a syndicate weapon and it can be acquired from the parent sequence for 125,000 standing. However, you can also buy it from the trade chat from a player that has the parent sequence. You also have a syndicate effect. If you look at the lower right hand side of the screen, you will see a very interesting symbol. When that one fills up, the weapon will release a radial explosion, 25 meter radius, 1000 radiation damage to everybody around you, and a guaranteed radiation proc. Also, it will restore 25% of your shields and give you a boost of your base shields by 50% for 25 seconds, and that's pretty much it. Or was it 30 seconds? Anyway, something like that. Currently in Warframe, that effect is not seen as being too great, simply because shields are not really worth anything right now, but perhaps Fortuna can change that. Let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is going to be 60 out of 60, and if your Secura Penta has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. This one can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie, and you can also pay 20 plat to have this one plugged in. Next, my weapon has been formatted a total of 6 times, but this was done only for the purpose of testing. I have a whole bunch of Rivens, I want to test mod combinations and so on and so forth. For the weapon build, I'm recommending you guys freeformat should cover it. The accuracy for the Secura Penta is 100, which is absolutely bloody outstanding. The accuracy penalty from heavy caliber is negligible for the most part, and I do recommend you guys pick up this mod. As you can see, again, we're also aiming to get damage with the explosion, not with the actual projectiles themselves, so bear that one in mind. Heavy caliber does work quite nicely on the Secura Penta. Now let's reset this so you don't have red numbers with green numbers. Critical chance is solid at 26%, and so is the multi at 2.0x, fire rate of 2 with a magazine of 7 and a reload of 2.5. Once again, keep in mind that you cannot have more than 5 grenades out at a time. And also, multishot plays a role in this. For example, if you were to have 200% multishot, that means that with each and every shot you are letting out 3 grenades. As soon as you hit your button twice and you have 6 grenades out, the weapon will refuse to fire, even though you will still have 5 shots left in your magazine. And all of this considering that reload speed is a tad long. The Riven disposition for the Penta family is 4 out of 5, simply because it's not very popular. Once upon a time the Tonkor was the grenade launcher to have, but then it got nerfed to the ground, and apparently nobody really pays much attention to the Secura Penta. Status chance is also nice at 26%. Now let's have a look at damage. It's broken up into 2 pieces, impact and blast. Now the impact refers to the grenade physically hitting a target, and of course the blast is the AoE explosion. And that's pretty much it. It's an elemental combo. If you want to increase the blast damage for whatever godforsaken reason, you will have to remake the elemental combo within the weapon, heat together with cold. Let's start slapping on some mods, starting with mandatory mod Serration, 165% extra damage. And you can also use, of course, heavy caliber with another 165% extra damage. The base damage on the Secura Penta is pretty high, at least the blast damage, but that is the problem with it. It's bloody blast damage, and it will work fine against Corpus faction, and it will work fine against the Infested, but when you're gonna be up against heavy duty armor targets, the only targets that are actually kinda hard to take out, then that blast damage is gonna bite you in the butt because it has a minus 25% damage modifier when hitting ferrite armor, and that's probably the weapon's biggest downfall. Next, we're gonna go to critical chance and critical damage, absolutely 100% for the Secura Penta, so of course point strike together with vital sense, 65% crit chance with a 4.4 multiplier, not bad at all. Next, we're gonna go to elemental damage, and elemental damage should always be applied on the weapon depending on circumstance, where are you going and who are you fighting. Now keep in mind that you have that innate blast damage, there's nothing really you can do about it, but once again, mod for whatever faction you're up against. If you're going up against the infested, simply add a whole bunch of heat. AoE weapons such as the Secura Penta will work fantastically well against the infested. If you're talking about Corpus faction, they have big shields, and against big shields you can build magnetic, or a smarter idea would be to build gas or toxin, as it bypasses their shields entirely and deals damage to their health. When you're talking about the Grenier, however, these are still the toughest targets in Warframe, at least for the time being. And the Grenier have two armor types, which is what makes them so tough: alloy and ferrite. Alloy is weak to radiation damage and ferrite is weak to corrosive damage. When I say weak to, I simply mean that those elements will be gaining a positive damage modifier when hitting that specific defense. Radiation is getting a 75% extra damage bonus when hitting alloy armor, and corrosive damage is getting 75% extra when hitting ferrite armor. This is regardless of whatever the hell they are proccing. Against Grenier, more often than not, your safest bet is to build corrosive. Not because everybody has ferrite armor, but in this case, corrosive on a status proc is reducing the armor of the target. Subsequent shots will be dealing therefore more and more damage. So when you're applying elementals to the weapon, you always gotta keep in mind these two aspects. One, the damage bonuses, be they negative or positive. For example, once again, Blast has a negative damage modifier when hitting ferrite armor, and of course the status proc itself. So let's build corrosive with electricity and toxin. Should I go for the 60-60 mods or for the 90 mods? The dual stat mods offer a good chunk of damage and a high status chance as well, 60%. The problem with the Secura Penta is that it's not putting a whole lot of hits in a target. Corrosive, in order to be good, needs multiple applications to further reduce that armor, so therefore you're going to be dealing more and more damage to the target. But again, the Secura Penta just throws a couple of explosions and that's it. For this reason, I would recommend you go for the biggest wallop of damage you got with the 90 mod. So we're gonna go with Stormbringer. There is a elemental combo that guarantees fantastic results with a low amount of procs, and that is Viral. I fully tested the weapon with Viral and Hunter Munitions. It's simply too underwhelming to recommend a build such as that. So once again, we're going for Corrosive. Got electricity, next we're gonna be going to toxin, of course, infected clip. Now I got corrosive on the weapon, 2902, and that is a pretty significant amount. And let's quickly check we're not cheating with anything. Energy siphon, yeah, that's not cheating, it's fine. Next, multishot. Yes, I have not forgotten about multishot. I simply switched out the order, simply because I want to talk a little bit about multishot and the Secura Penta. I have never felt multishot to be more underwhelming than on the Secura Penta, simply because it has that cap of 5 grenades out at a time. So, to be honest, it's not a huge benefit. When it comes to multishot on the Secura Penta, because you have that cap, is not the biggest benefit in the world. Yes, it's still worth using, but again, basically you are saving yourself a couple of shots and that's pretty much it. You cannot stack, I don't know, something like 14 bombs, for example, which would have been bloody glorious and bloody broken, but still bloody glorious. So there you go. As for our last mod slot, we gotta talk about a couple of mods that are only available to weapons such as this, and one that is only available to the Secura Penta. First, adhesive grenades or adhesive blast. Grenades have a 100% chance to stick to surfaces, and you saw how they were bouncing around all over the place. That can make it tricky to get them in the position you want to. It can even make it tricky to set up proper ambushes, for example. But the advantage to bouncing grenades is the fact that you can kind of bounce them around corners, so there you go. 100%, however, I would recommend adhesive blast. You can even stick an enemy with this one. In the case of the Secura Penta, you have one mod that simply does the job a whole lot better, and it's called Tether Grenades. This one is only for the Penta, and you can obtain it from doing index. If not, from the trade chat, you're looking at about 5 plats, something like that. Grenades tether up to 5 enemies from 9 meters away, and as the image shows, and I'll show you in gameplay, it simply kind of holds them in with these little energy lines. That is absolutely fantastic. You clump them all up together using tether grenades and then you blow them sky high. Absolutely bloody glorious. And there's one more mod. Firestorm, 24% blast radius. That is fantastic. Once again, the blast radius for the Secura Penta is about 5 meters, so 24% on that is gonna be something pretty significant. You know what? You can drop multishot. Honestly, you can drop multishot. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but you can. Multishot is not a huge benefit from my point of view, at least on the Secura Penta, and you can go for something like this. So let's test the weapon out and see if it's got punch on it or not. We got 5.5k corrosive now, and we're going to be using split chamber. Keep in mind that this status chance that you see here is a shot status chance. Spawning level 120 corrupted heavy gunner, and I'm not going to be using vol bands free to put them up into the air because sadly that generates extra damage now. So take a look at the effect of Tether Grenades. That is fantastic. That is absolutely bloody glorious. So I can tether them all up, then blow them to Kingdom Come. You see that I'm not doing a whole bunch of damage simply because these guys, or girls, whatever they are, have a whole bunch of armor, and by the time I get through some of that armor with my status chance, be it with the 60 mods or with the 90 mods, it doesn't even matter, it's gonna take a whole bunch of shots. After that, yes, it will be dealing quite a huge amount of damage. And by the way, if you don't know how to detonate your grenades, you simply press alt fire. And you can also detonate them midway, like so. So for example, you're running through a mission and you want to hit a group of enemies like that. That will definitely work. The damage the weapon does is fairly potent, but I think it shines. I believe it shines the most when you are able to one-shot targets. And you can one-shot targets up to level 70-ish. Even targets with heavy-duty armor, such as these. Now there's one more effect with that tether grenade, which I found somewhat confusing. Normally the little sticks of dynamite stay on the ground indefinite until you detonate them. However, with this specific mod, and only with this one, it doesn't work with the D-Zip Blast. As you saw there, they detonate by themselves 15 seconds after you launch them. I found that just a tad annoying because I was running this in defense missions and I wanted to set up traps, and that kind of ruined my whole trap planning schedule. So there you go. And I completely ran out of ammo, but normally when playing missions I don't have any sorts of ammo issues. If you want to be on the safe side, however, Carrier or Carrier Prime together with ammo case will solve any ammo issues for the Penta. Then again, it's not a high fire rate weapon, so you don't have to necessarily. As for the base build, that's pretty much it. The weapon's biggest problem is that it doesn't receive a huge benefit from multi-shot. Now if I remove multi-shot, oh look, lower damage. Just keep in mind that this damage is calculated based on the chance of me getting an additional grenade out, and I have a cap of 5. It goes the same for the status chance, this being a shot status chance. Your individual explosion damage is identical with or without multi-shot, so bear that one in mind. As for my Riven setup, I don't have multi-shot on this one. Again, I don't think it's worth it. The Riven is critical chance and electricity, and I paid 60 plat for this one. I would recommend you go for critical chance till you reach 100%. As you saw in the earlier test, if the Penta crits, then the Penta hurts. After you get your 100% critical chance, go for damage. Go for critical damage, an element like electricity or toxin. Do not go for multi-shot. Again, that is my recommendation. And we're going to be testing the weapon out like this to see precisely what it's capable of. Unpause the AI because I believe this is a better showcase for Tether Grenades, just so you can see how bloody awesome this mod is. Once again, clump them all up together, then blow them to Kingdom Come. With a setup such as mine, I can one-shot level 70-ish, even level 80s, depending on how much armor they have on them. Of course, you can use other methods to remove the armor if you so desire. You can cheat with Ash, or you can cheat with the Pox. That is also an option if you still enjoy blowing your targets away like this. And you know what? It is a whole lot of fun to use, but the Penta, I wouldn't call it a endgame weapon in the traditional sense of the word, and the problems I already outlined, so there's only one more thing left to do: bump up everything with Warframe buffs together with Lady Mirage Prime. Now let's check out what kind of buffs she's got. Rifle amp, 27% extra damage. This is an aura, so everybody in your party will be receiving this benefit. It is stackable ×4. Now if you know you're gonna fight Grineer, there's one aura that will give you better results guaranteed, and it's called, where the hell are you, Corrosive Projection. However, keep in mind that Rifle Lamp will grant its benefit regardless of your target. When it comes to arcanes, these are a lot more impactful. Arcane Rage, on headshot 10% chance for plus 120% damage to rifles for 16 seconds. And yes, you will be activating the headshot multiplier quite easily with the explosions, don't worry about it. You can even use Argon Scope if you want to reach that 100% critical chance, which is important on the Penta. As for your second arcane, you do have a couple of options, but I would recommend Arcane Avenger. 30% critical chance bonus additive after, so my critical chance in this setup was gonna be going to 137%. And we're gonna be testing the weapon out like this. Spawning level 120 Corrupted Heavy Gunner once again, and activating Mirage's third ability for a massive damage increase as well as her clones. Now let's see what the Penta can do with the clones. A lot more explosions, a lot more damage. As you can see, I am pretty close to one-shot territory with some heavy-duty Warframe buffs. Now that is definitely pretty impressive. I absolutely murdered those targets simply because I'm doing a whole lot more damage. To be honest, I can't say that the Penta is worth sinking all those 4-Mayan or a Catalyst and so on and so forth. You do have the added benefit of that Syndicate proc, and in normal everyday missions that will come in very handy. But I simply don't see the Penta as being that powerful of a weapon. And that's pretty much it for the review. I'm gonna thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means leave it in the comment section down below. Now I can't realistically promise you that it will be done by next time or even within a week, because these reviews do take quite a bit of time. But I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time guys. Bye bye.